How's it going, guys? Welcome back to part 2 of our little reference imagery tutorial. So in part 1 we took some reference imagery and we put it into 3D Studio Max in order to model alongside. But in part 2 of the series what we're actually going to do is create some reference imagery of our own. So for my students doing your 3D modeling assignment, you have to create reference imagery for your 3D designs that you're then going to model. So this little tutorial we're going to very quickly talk about how you can do that. Now I'm using Photoshop. But you can use these same techniques just by drawing on paper by hand, just if you have a pencil and a ruler, and then you can scan it in to Photoshop just to tidy them up. You will have to use Photoshop at some point, but whether you want to draw by hand or draw in Photoshop, that's up to yourself. Both will work equally fine. I'm using a mouse at the minute, so the drawings will be a bit scrappy, but you can use a graphics tablet for this as well. So let's go over and have a little look and see what we're going to be doing today. So I've already pre-drawn out this little treasure chest. This is what we're going to be making reference imagery of, and we're going to make a front view, a side view, and a top view. Now, if you're being very thorough, you could also do a bottom view and a back view, and possibly the other side as well. But just to keep it quick, we're just going to do 3 sides. So this is what you would expect if you were a concept artist. You would start with something like this, and then you would make the reference imagery and pass it on to your 3D team. So how are we going to start? We're going to go File, New, and we're going to set up a new document that is 1000 pixels wide by 1000 pixels tall, and just hit Create. And what we want to do is we want to set up that each view is going to be on its own little square. So what I want you to do is make sure your rulers are visible. So go to View, Rulers. And I also want you to have Snap activated, and you'll see why in a little second. What I want to do is I want to go here to the right, to the ruler here, and click on it and drag over to the right, and over at the very right edge, and you'll see that just snaps to the end, a little guideline, this little blue guideline. And I also want to take one here from the top and drag it down, and we're going to get this little guideline. Okay. And what I want to do now is I want to go to Image, Canvas Size, and click on this little anchor point here to the bottom left. I want to set my canvas bigger. Let me see, pixels. I want to set up to 2000 by 2000. And it's going to leave these black. That's totally fine. Don't worry about that. What I want to do now is we're going to take our little marquee tool and we're going to drag into this top corner here, and you see that this also snaps to these corners, and that'll give us that top right quarter, which is also 1000 by 1000. And we're just going to fill that, make sure we're 100% opacity, etc., just white. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to get the slightest change in color here, just make it a little bit grey, just so we can see the difference. And we'll deselect with Control D. We've still selected this box here. We'll hit Control D to deselect. We'll just fill in here, and we'll fill in here. And you see there that gives us 4 squares. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the bottom left here with our front view. So if I just get my brush here, make it a little bit smaller. I'm just going to write F for front. Wait, I need to deselect. I'll create a new layer here actually. I'll just type F for front. And then over to the side here, we're going to do side. And then up above, we're going to do top. And because we're only doing these 3 views, this quarter here isn't actually going to get used at all. So we don't need to worry about that. I'm going to set my opacity back up to 100% here. And it's always a good idea to draw on a new layer. Don't be drawing on your background layer itself. What we're going to do at the end is cut these down to the individual sizes. They save them as 1000 by 1000 images. But it might be handy to have the artwork itself on a separate layer. So again, I'm just drawing this very, very quickly and roughly with a mouse. It's not the ideal way of doing it. But let's look back here. We've got a little treasure chest. It's got 2 iron bands either side of it, and it's got this kind of lock on the front. So I'm very, very quickly just going to draw that. It's going to be wonky as all hell. Actually, what I can do, if you're just drawing by mouse, let me undo that. Little pro tip for you, if you click and hold shift, you'll actually draw a straight line. So maybe that'd be the best way to do it. Click and hold shift, straight line, bring it over just a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, that'll do lovely. Let me see now. Hopefully that's about correct there. And we have, whoops. And I'm just holding shift and clicking with every time here. Not doing fancy. It's not quite right there, but I'm not worried too much about it. And we have, if I come over a bit here, then here, and then we have the little lock on the front. Again, forgive my terrible drawing skills, just because I'm using a mouse here. The reason I'm using a mouse is because OBS Broadcaster does not like my graphics tablet, so I have to be a bit janky here with what I'm drawing. So please forgive the half-assed nature of this video. So there we have our little front view, and we're just going to leave it black and white. We don't need to colour it. It's maybe a little bit off the initial proportions. Do you know what? We'll just be cheeky. I'll draw a little marquee around that. Just Control T. Stretch up. That'll do lovely. There we go. Now the important thing is that we've got it here. And if you look back at our part 1 of this video, we had our little Lego man. The important thing is that the distance from the bottom of the image, or the bottom of the square, to the bottom of the actual object itself is the same across all views. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag another little line down here, from here to here, and that will give us the height that we want to draw this to. Now here's a little thing to watch out for. If I start drawing here, note how it snaps to that line. And we don't want that when we're drawing. It's nice when we're setting up these initial squares, but we don't always want that. So we've got to go View and Undo Snap, and that way we'll be able to just draw around this as normal. So that's what we want. And again, what we're going to do is, what might be handy, again, if we look back at this, the treasure is kind of straight until it gets up to the lid, and then the lid starts to curve around. So we might put another little guideline in here at that lid. And then what we'll do is take our brush again, and I'll just start drawing straight lines, holding shift, and just align it with those guidelines I already have. And I'm just drawing the extra wee bits here. Again, it's not straight, a little bit janky, but we'll not worry. Now's where it'll look really bad, trying to draw a curve with the mouse, oh dear. But there we go. Not a straight line there. I could also use the pen tool to do this, but I'm just trying to be really, really quick. And there we have our side view. Now it's a very simple object, there's not really much going on there. Just those two little pieces. Happy days. Now we do the top view. And again, we want the width to be the same. So we're going to pull these lines out to here, and these lines out to here. And if we look at the top, if you imagine looking down at this on the top, we're really just going to see a kind of a rectangular shape with the two bands either side, and then the sort of the horizontal planks. So let me just start with the line here. Now we do want to match this this distance, and it's kind of the wrong way around. So how do we do that? Here's a little tip. If we take our marquee tool and we try and draw a marquee, but hold the shift key along with it, we're going to get a square. So what I want to do is draw a square marquee that is the width of that treasure chest. So there we are, the width. And now if I drag that up the way, hopefully you can see this on my broadcaster. You can see we've got a square shape, and that width down here, which is the bottom side here, If we're looking at a top view, because this is a square, that will match up with that length. So if I just drag that down here, that gives us a rough position for where to draw. If I just take my brush tool and just draw a little dot in here in the corner, you can barely see it, but that shows us how far back that should go. Hit Control D to deselect that marquee, and now we'll just finish drawing this out. Again, I'm not going superbly for accuracy here, I'm just going for quickness. And we'll just draw in the rest of the frame there. Actually might be a little bit wider. In fact, it will be a little bit wider. If we actually try and match up with what's down here, again we can draw a couple more rulers. There we go, and that gives us the width that those should be. So we'll just try and match that. Just shift and click, and I'll just get a little marquee and delete some of this excess here. Just select it and delete, select it and delete, select this little edge and delete. And we could always just put in the extra little lines here. What I will do, my brush is at 10 pixels thick at the minute. What I'll do is I will make this down to about 5 or 6 there. I'll do lovely, just to add in these little lines here. Oops, a bit crooked. So don't be scared to change up your line width as well. Oops. And because this is a curved surface, because it's curving away, they will get thinner as they get closer to the top and bottom. Now, with these reference drawings, we don't need to add any color or anything like that. We don't need to shade them. They can just be black and white. That's totally okay. So there we go. That's very simply, we've drawn that chest. Now again, it's a bit janky on the side there, just because I'm very quickly using the pencil tool. You can use the pen tool or some of the shape tools to get smoother shapes if need be. But if you have a graphics tablet, or if you're just doing it in pencil by hand, the drawing will come out a lot better. But there we go. There's our 3 reference images. And you can see that they both line up. So if we put this front view alongside the side view, we'll be able to line those up nicely in 3D Studio Max. And if we put the top view underneath them, we'll be able to line that up as well. So now we just have to save these out. How do we go about doing that? Easy peasy. We're going to select our marquee tool again. And we're going to, for this, we want to reactivate our snap actually. So view and snap. We want that marquee just to snap down to this center point. So we're going here and it'll snap down on that center point. And then we're going to go image and crop. And what we're going to do here is file, save as, and we'll save this as a PNG file. And this is our top view. So we'll do it chest underscore reference underscore top. And hit save and hit OK on the PNG options. And then we're going to undo that crop, and we are going to just select here again, snap just that bottom corner, image, crop, file, save as, and we'll call this one chest reference front. Undo that again, and with another marquee, just snap into that center point again because we activated view snap. We'll go image, crop one final time, go file, save as, PNG, and we'll just click on it to get that name, and then we'll save it once more as side, and there we go. So now if we navigate to that folder, let me see, where is it? That could be lost anywhere on here. Teaching, okay, where do we save that? This could be literally anywhere in here. I think I would have this better prepared, wouldn't you? Here we go. So there we are, we've got those three JPEGs. Now, one of them's white, the others are a bit grey. That doesn't really matter, that'll not matter at all. You don't even need to colour it grey if you don't want to, that was just to sort of differentiate them a bit. But we've got these three PNG images that we can now drop into 3D Studio Max and use them as reference for our model. And again, always be referring back to your original piece of concept art that you made. Just try and get it as accurate as you can. And make sure that in Photoshop you do not save the cropped version as your final Photoshop file. Make sure if you go to save it, make sure you see everything. And just hit File, Save As, and we'll call this Chest Reference. And there we go, that's it. That's how we make a reference imagery. Now, obviously, if you wanted to add more, if you want to do the other side, the last thing I would do is we'll go Image, Canvas Size, and again, anchor it to the left here so that the new space comes to the right-hand side. We will set the pixel size to, say, 3000. And that'll give us 2 more spaces. Now, what I should have done there, actually, before I do that, drag another line out, make sure Snaps is on. There we go. Now, Image, Canvas Size, pixels width 3000. And there we are. Oh, whoops. Ha! Do you know what I did that time? I forgot to move the anchor point. So you can see it made the whole image wider. That's me trying to rush through this. That's what you get. Always be careful. So again, check that anchor point first of all. Pixels 3000. There we go. Third time lucky. There we go. So that gives us the extra two slots we want to draw on. We could move this onwards and do the back view here, and then do another one, do the other side. Maybe do up above here. We could do the bottom view or whatever, or another one up above here. Do the bottom view if you want to keep it in line with itself. But that's how you really just want to be using these ruler guidelines to help you get the sizes correct, and then just toggle on and off that snap in your view mode. And remember, rulers themselves can be found here in view as well. Make sure they're enabled. Now, if you find yourself that you've drawn a line that you don't want or it's not useful to you, if you want to get rid of that, just go to your move tool here and then drag that left or right wherever you need it. That's fine. So we could realign this over here if you want. And in fact, say the likes of even here, you don't want 4 lines. You could actually just have one and then move it every time. So move it to draw this left edge, then move it here, draw your top edge, move it here, draw your next edge, move it here. And if you want rid of them completely, all you have to do is drag them right over here on top of the ruler itself, and that will get rid of it. So that will reduce the number of lines you have. Then one last thing, if you want to view this actually without your guidelines, if you still want the guidelines there but you want to just not see them, just toggle view extras, and that'll get rid of all your lines. So we can toggle that on and off, view extras. So, okay, I think that should be enough for you guys to get going, just doing some basic reference imagery. Combine that with the stuff we saw in part 1 and how to actually import that into 3D Studio Max, and that will be good enough for your assignments. Like I say, you don't need to color them. Maybe spend a little bit more time on them, get them tidier than that, but that's the gist of it. If you can do that much, you can do what you need. So I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below or send me an email. And I will see you for the next video series. Thank you very much.